Team Captain Talk Show with the Team Captain and the Oracle. They're still on duty. That legendary duel on CTI 22.
Subjectory Labyrinth of the Psychonaut. Team Captain, date December 27, 2007, 7:23, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, from Lekinshare. Reply to soundless@mail.com. Lekinshare. In a message dated December 24, 2007, 2:05:26 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, soundless@mail.com writes, "Hey Team Cap. Steve from Lock here. You misunderstood me. I am very familiar with the treaty. The download page you are looking for is at labyrinth.thatsuchanaut.com. You can acquire a higher quality version of spontaneous DNA, the Rapture, and the rise to fourth density there. I am honored that you would consider using the video to reach as many people as possible. In this way I feel I can help viewers and others get their message to a wider audience, because I feel the DVD series he and Marcy are doing lacks the presentation it deserves. I have a degree in psychology, and the way they are trying to relay this most important message can be easily confused with psychosis, and we have no more time to be vague about things. As much inside information as you have concerning it is of little consequence, for even they do not hold all of the answers. The future is a malleable, constantly changing enigma. I am curious, however, if you know anything of Hollow Earth civilizations, and when they plan to come to the surface. I know there is still a great city located under Mount Shasta in California that will be trying to make contact within the decade. Cheers and happy holidays. Steve Wilner." Hello Steve. No, it is my pleasure to make and know the acquaintances of your friendship. You said Steve from Lock here. You misunderstood me. I am very familiar with the treaty. The download page you are looking for is at labyrinth.thatsuchanaut.com. You can acquire a higher quality version of spontaneous DNA, the Rapture, and the rise to fourth density there. I am honored that you would consider using the video to reach as many people as possible. So the things and information I am about to say to you will no doubt not be new. The DVD sounds good. Any comments you yourself would want passed on to those that will be/are listening? Thank you. The Team Captain. Steve, you said. As much inside information as you have concerning it is of little consequence, for even they do not hold all of the answers. The future is a malleable, constantly changing enigma. Malleable. Main entry: malleable. Function: adjective. Pronunciation: malo nb and l, malai nb and l, mal nb and l. Etymology: Middle English malleable, from Middle French or Medieval Latin. Middle French malleable, from Medieval Latin malleolus, from malleare to hammer, from Latin malleus hammer, more et mal. One capable of being extended or shaped by beating with a hammer or by the pressure of rollers. To a capable of being altered or controlled by outside forces or influences, be having a capacity for adaptive change. Synonym: see plastic, malleability/malnblnt, mallian, mal/noun. Pronunciation key. More information: audio. That's an interesting word. Documentation: Space War video is malleable, for constantly changing enigma. Point. You have never seen outer space war video, but I am sure from that amount of money being in the trillions should/will get everyone's attention. From a military-industrial perspective, the disclosure of choice is one which frames the UFO/ET issue in a threatening manner. If a threat from space can be established, as President Reagan liked to say, then the entire world can be united around the need to fight such a threat. This would ensure trillion-dollar-plus military-industrial spending well into the next century, and beyond. If you think the Cold War was costly, wait until you see the price tag for this protection from the threats in space. The trillions spent on the Cold War will look like a blue light special. I do have that blue light special space war video above, and the documentations for it. According to Dr. Greer, as citizens we will all be paying for it. If this does not go right, as often said and quoted, instead of you paid for it, it will be we all paid for it. I am not a writer, of course. I am just one person that decided to say no. And they answered back. They said no one would care, but with that much information how could anyone miss it? Then I remembered Bill H.R. 2977. The government's documentations and the reasons. As our UFO lawyer case, Peter A. Jurston said, I tend to believe it is the latter. There has been an overall theme of dishonesty, misinformation, and manipulation associated with the UFO phenomenon. I believe this is inconsistent with a benevolent first contact scenario. What is this test that our species is being prepared for? Well, that involves our right to self-determination or sovereignty, which is the subject matter of another commentary. HTTP web link. You do have to admit our answers given here do solve a lot of our world UFO question/problems, some of the mysteries of the why and what's the possible next. We know about it as experts or just knowledgeable people in the field, but some of the people of the world don't know or even have a real clue about any of this, not yet. Documentation. The Terminator, malleable for constantly changing enigma. You said the future is a malleable constantly changing enigma. True. But then again that depends on who or what power you are dealing with, of course, along with the information given. Did you read the T2 Terminator's interesting resume below? The Terminator. 1996. The creativity machine trains itself. HTTP web link. The Terminator. 1997. The creativity machine patent issues the same day Skynet becomes conscious. HTTP web link. The Terminator. 1999. The creativity machine designs its own weapons. www.imagination-engines.com web link. The Terminator. 1999. E-technology helps to provide equal access to justice. HTTP web link. The Terminator. 2003. Virtual reality robots become creative and self-determining. www.imagination-engines.com web link. The Terminator. 2004. Robots devise their own complex strategies. HTTP web link. Of course the Terminator resume is kind of self-explanatory. Should I have doubted it was for real? Easy question. Are they listening to us? Do they know you now know? Should I hide that information here from all reading and listening? As I have said many times before, it's like and about those rabbit holes and little red and blue matrix pills. The information given above is good, so it will stand on its own merit. It's a head game, and as you have said, it's in the labyrinth of our mind. By the I like the story about the labyrinth, the one with Rockstar Skin singing in it. But then again you have to ask yourself, how do you get around all that real T2 Terminator information given above? The T2 Terminator, as you can see, is very much alive, well and kicking, of course. From the above information, as an average citizen, what do? You do a happy hunter and take 3 of their heads, then you bargain with them, of course. They are high enough on the food chain so to make a big difference. Questions? Should I have doubted the choices were real? Easy question from the above as a reference. Are they listening to us? Do they know you now know? So how do you turn down an offer like that from the above? As I said to them, if people knew this information they would change their ways. The above information is good, because it has stood the test of time on its own merit. The strategies? It's like playing a chess or a checkers game, in the labyrinth of the mind. See the History Channel, December 25, 2007, Futurist, Peter Schwartz. Opinions, reference, robots. As you said, we have no more time to be vague about things. So I will say I just made the agreement with the aliens for the planet Earth and the people's free will choice, as stated. Of course they said no one would believe. And here I am talking to you. Now the question about the space war video, is it real or not? Everyone does not see things the same way or from the same point of view. But soon, all points of views will be covered. The agreement was made for all our free will choice of choices. The difference is I am talking to the power behind the powers. Or the powers that be. It's a free will choice presented to them and the world, but it's an honest choice. Only the journey is written, not the destination. Documentation malleable for constantly changing enigma. The Eagle Disabate team, group, they are all good people, they just need some help. I am talking about the doers, not just the talkers, and not just about the problem, but I have realized from the board's conversations it is the wisdom from the lips of the world. Do I listen? Of course I do. You said. In this way I feel I can help viewers and others get their message to a wider audience, because I feel the deep series he and Marcy are doing lacks the presentation it deserves. I have a degree in psychology, and the way they are trying to relay this most important message can be easily confused with psychosis, and we have no more time to be vague about things. You said you can add to the answers in your video, so let me ask you a question that Jack has asked the board members here. The question asked, can I have your opinion, Paul? How do you think the government should come clean about all the UFO stuff? How would you do it? Peace, Jack. Now that's a really good question that does deserve a really good workable answers. I am going to think on those answers, not because I don't know them, But the question is, how would I do it to convey workable answers for all concerned worldwide? He asked a question. I will present your answer to the questions for us and for those who have gone before us. As you said, we have no more time to be vague about things. And as MJ number 1 said, this message is for history and the children of the world. We may not be able to get them all with the information, but we can make a big dent. So Steve, how would you release the story and present that UFO disclosure information to the world? You will have the Majestic 12 documentation last orders to be preserved for history. And the only video in the world of aliens in hostile combat, as Dr. Greer has spoken of. How long do we have to put a dent in that 6 billion plus? About 4 years? Can it be done? Of course it can. Steve, if you can do it to enhance Dan and Marcy presentations, here is your keys to above to unlock the world's opinions. I have the UFO material, you have the talent, so when put together I am sure they would have seen it coming, because we are both self-motivated. Maybe they said we can't, but we can. I have the music. I have the Space War video, I have the T2 Terminator documentations, I have the Majestic 12 documents last orders, the Team Captain Aliens T9 treaty disclosure story and promo questions to the world, permission from Tom Bearden and the government's documentations Bill HR 2977. Do this for our team to help us get the information out. I will be presenting the video to the board, then give me a month and then it will be worldwide. I have seen the spontaneous DNA, the rapture, and the rise to fourth density video. Go for it. Remember this one thing, it's for history as the Christian shelters for a rose worldwide. We really do need. As Dan said, tell the world in your own words. The world will be watching. I am sure people will look at your work in a new way from this information. So I am glad we can help each other. Maybe a meeting of the minds to discuss new ideas to help out for possible future collaborations. Steve, it's not like we can't just ask Marcy a question before they will be appearing at the Laughlin, Nevada UFO Congress conference. Do the video for us, let Dan and then let Marcy say more of your video talents. I think the spontaneous DNA, the rapture, and the rise to fourth density is a very compelling video that does mention Dr. Dan work. Good for a speaker warm-up or an ending. Because you never know. If this goes as good as I know it will, I would be willing to, and I could finance your next video projects to the world. I could pay you part of the proceeds as we go, or you can be a part of our team and share all the 6 billion from the proceeds. How about being a team member? Something to think about. Mutable. Of course you know our leaders are planning their escape as we speak. That's mutable, without prayer. As I said to Dr. Dan, together we can work it out, and he said tell the world. I will say the same thing he said to me, tell the world. Using documentations and the Team Captain Alien T9 29-22 promo questions to the world. As MJ number 1 said, it's for history. Unfortunately I can't just always pick out the information I want, it's what and who they give me. Some of those things above are just about common sense. As we both know, there are two sides to the split faction, so the message is not so much about the ETs but to the powers that be. And then to the people of the world, our future is not written in stone, our future. In other words, we have no fate, but what we make. Mutable. Main entry mutabile. Function adjective. Pronunciation mutnb and l. Etymology Middle English, from Latin mutabilis, from muter to change, akin to Old English methan to conceal, Sanskrit menepi he exchanges, deceives. One prone to changing constant. To a capable of change or of being changed, be capable of or liable to mutation, mutability /mutnbl /noun, mutabili /mutnbl /adverb. Pronunciation key. More information audio. You also said, I am curious however, if you know anything of Hollow Earth civilizations, and when they plan to come to the surface. I know there is still a great city located under Mount Shasta in California that will be trying to make contact within the decade. No, I don't know that much about the Hollow Earth, besides from the Bible has said for sure and also what I hear on the internet radio shows on cave diving. But you should set your alarm clock for about 4 years from now. I know there is plant and animals life down there, so there is also light and rivers. As I said before, some things are just common sense. What do you need that I have to do to make this change of information a mutable choice to the world? We of course being the malleable constantly changing enigma. Together we can work it out. So Steve, tell the world. You know, just about on every UFO or paranormal TV shows they always say at the end, until we get or have more information. As I said before, our meeting must be another one of those strange synchronicities. The malleable. As you said, we have no more time to be vague about things. Email from Preacher, Rev Diana, Starduster, Dusty, John Barrow, Lefty Dave, Roberto, Ask.com board members, starting at 4,000. Wingmakers board members, starting at 15,000. Dr. Ted Loader, N.S.A. Dr. Jack Sherman, Steve Bassett, Jim DeLatazzo, The Majestic 12 Group, The X-Zone Radio Show, The Edge Radio Show, Tom Bearden, Dr. Stephen Greer, Peter Greston. How about a game of free-range chicken? Brandon, Walton, just to name a small few. Remember, when disclosure serves secrecy from above. www.cd.org web link. Page 43. Jack Grant Pubat member. I offer you the review of our team captain's Space War video from the Majestic 12 group and other interesting documentations given me for the world knowledge of our extraterrestrial visitors. www.nuiglasforum.proboards107.com web link. 2TC. After further analysis of the Space War video, we discovered that the glowing orb that surrounded the UFO seemed to be tracking the white orbs that flew into view, always facing them, as they passed. This to me signifies that it may have been a defensive mechanism that the UFO was using to detect and deflect any attacks. Also, the shot that was fired at the UFO, in my opinion, was real. The speed at which the UFO moved out of the way was out of this world. Yes, the real deal, no camera trickery here. So TC, yes, in my opinion, even after enhancement, the video does seem to be the real deal. Have a great day all, Jack. You can't stick a fork in it now, because that's malleable. Now that's what I call a very interesting top-of-the-line, worldwide Space War video documentation. There is honesty in our leaders, who said prayer does not work. Hello Archbishop. Thanks for the appointment on August 2nd, 11 a.m. 100 North 62nd Street. Time and date confirmed. I am and have been a Christian Omaha home newsletter writer for 11 years now. The problem that I ran into is I don't know anything about the Brother of the Society of Jesus, in a special tertianship to the Magi, granted this Jubilee year. Holding on to our information will not serve for the good. You know, how the Lord will bring certain people across your path to talk to that won't space you off, and will listen and give good advice or a better plan of action. Can you get any more information on the agreement we made with them about that permission to increase abductions rates to 10 million? Yes, 10 million humans per year? It's a very real interesting Christian stories of how I got here or to this point. But I did what I think the Archbishop would have done below. X Promo 2922. The team captain meet and speaks to the world. Hairdrock Harry D. November 22, 2003 5:06 a.m. East GLP Forum Mystery of Dr. Dan Burish. Important. Flyby would be a helicopter visit from Growling PTP. I had decided I am not on their list of worries yet. You know how that story goes above. To start off with, I am sure the Archbishop of Omaha, Elder Francis Curtis, will like the spontaneous DNA, the rapture, and the rise to fourth density video. I do like your music, so I have to ask your comments on the team captain's theme song music. As the people of the world, we are the malleable. But it's still all about our personal free will decisions and choice. I see the Eagle Disobey forums 1 to 2 and 3 have been closed down for close study, so I hope I said something they would consider of interest. To flip a page, to stop the madness. When you really think about this plot, it's kind of reminds you of memories of the Joe Smo TV show. Instead of the world watching, the universe is watching us. I have found that doing the right things is always a good thing. Thank you again, Steve. Enjoy the music. I am the team captain. LeCanChere@AOL.com. See AOL's top-rated recipes and easy ways to stay in shape for winter. Subject 22 Labyrinth of the Psychonaut. Team Captain, Steve. Date December 29, 2007 10:46:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time from LeCanChere. Reply to soundless@mail.com. LeCanChere. In a message dated December 27, 2007 4:33:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, soundless@mail.com writes, Hey Team Cap. I must say that I was pleasantly surprised to see such a long and thorough mail from you. The long and the short of it, I would love to join the team. Here is a downloadable version of the spontaneous DNA video, free of charge. Please put it on disk, and spread it to as many people as possible. I will do the same. www.labyrinth.thetsitchinot.com web link. The issue of disclosure, and how I would do it. I think to reach the magnitude of people needed in the next 4 years, there needs to be proof that is undeniable. I haven't seen your UFO combat video, but I would love to, so I know the kind of potential you are talking about. Any footage you can send me will aid in making the most convincing videos. Given that I've reached over 300,000 via my YouTube site, it may cause some initial fireworks. Will this be enough? No, absolutely not. We need a close-up of an it or group of its filmed in a way that not even the most skeptical of the bunch will be able to deny it. That, or the obvious landing/first contact scenario. I have seen UFOs being shot at on the secret space DVD as well as buzzing around the Mir space station. Has that converted the masses yet? No, it has done very little in convincing anyone, so we need to step it up considerably. We need more elements in video format that touch the heart as well as the mind. So send away, my friend, anything you wish me to work on and edit together. I can only promise you I will do it with the utmost respect, and make sure the final product is something deserving of such a grand conquest. Disclosure will not come from any one point, it will be a snowball or conglomerate of many people working together. Is there not also a universal law of non-interference? Do humans even have the ability to prove such a thing exists without the blessings of the Council of Worlds? I hope we can at least make a dent. There is so much potential to turn this world into a utopia where nothing but love emanates from mountain to treetop. I'll be in touch, Steve. Hello, Steve. Welcome from the team captain. The negotiations, team captain. Team member Steve. What size shirt do you wear? I am sure all of our many talents will all work together well. CJ, team members all said hello and welcome. Some of the documentations you will need cannot be sent by computer. The Space War video file is too big for my computer to send over, at AOL 305 millibar. With the paper documentations needed, where do I send to? Your comments from the combined statements from Dr. Stephen Greer and Jack's documentations. As you said, know the kind of potential we are talking about. Is this that video described? What are the possible consequences? That and why are the real answers for the elements in video format? In other words, why would I go? And why would I do it? The video documentation of the shots dodged. Until then, where do I start off at? The beginning. When we were first abducted we caught it on video. I had the video cut down to small sizes some time ago to send out. When you get the abduction video snail mail, turn the sound up. I had enough forethought to ask them, am I coming back? The difference is, I talked to them and they talked and answered back. That was a very interesting conversation. Of course I knew I would have to leave the planet Earth. Your comments on the abduction video clips? I had no idea then, I would be negotiating for the entire planet's 6 billion people, plus the attachments. I am sending you video clips 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26 from our first alien contact. Steve, please send me copy of Spontaneous DNA, The Rapture, and the Rise to Fourth Density for DVD copy. Snail mail. Mr. Henry P. Nedlebrook. 4306 Lake Street, Omaha, Nebraska. 681133429. Thank you. The team captain. TC. LekinSherry@AOL.com. See AOL's top-rated recipes and easy ways to stay in shape for winter. Subject Re-22 Labyrinth of the Psychonaut. Team captain, Steve. Date December 31, 2007, 4:59:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time from LekinSherry. Reply to soundless@mail.com. LekinSherry. In a message dated December 30, 2007, 7:07:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, soundless@mail.com writes, very interesting sighting and first contact. I turned the volume way up, but still couldn't hear any dialogue. Which segment is it on? I wear a large t-shirt. You can't send everything to Steve Wilner, 8871 Wells Road, number 8 to 106 Coral Springs, Florida, 33067. I know Dr. Greer has been somewhat successful in getting our friends' attention using laser and sound technology to flag them down. I've seen some high-flying ships myself, when I was in the Colorado Rockies, but was never contacted. What are some of your personal experiences and revelations achieved in the presence of these its? Were they more or less similar to how Beerish described the Chad? Or of a different race? I will send you a copy of Spontaneous through the mail as that DVD burner isn't working at the moment. Be well, S. Hello Steve. Where to start off at the beginning? You will be able to turn the sound up on the VCR video, and hear me just after the conversation and truck pulls off. The video and documenting information will be in the mail. Some background basic information on our team members' progress in the first 3 files. Preacher Rev Diana, and the United States Air Force. The Free-Range Chicken. Dr. Jack my friend. The movie. Are you in the Team Captain X-Files CD stories? Jersey Coast Films of New Jersey offers enter our site. Steve, smile. How we got in this mess in the first place, Bill H.R. 2977. Tom Bearden permission, quantum potential weapon. The Terminator all in all. Senator Chambers who's God? Steve, I started talking to the aliens through my computer. As you see, eventually the Air Force called off the hit placed on us. After 15 people were dead, then they gave some real good reasons why we could say what we wanted to say. Why the internet? Because I was to have proof and documentations that could not be denied. After all, it's for 6 billion people on our planet Earth. And some people said the spaceship on video was a Mylar balloon. Debunkers. Then again, you really can't get mad at them because of the Bill H.R. 2977 and the psychotronic weapons being used. And most don't even have an idea, not even after looking at the chemtrails in the sky just about every day. So let me ask this question from the above and the sent documentations. How do we stand on the world food chain so far? Tom Bearden and others have clearly said it. We are at war, and it's not just a war, it's a war of the mind. We are slowly but surely being mind-snapped along with our elected leaders. I know all this may sound kind of bad and strange when you first hear it the first time. It is and does, but that's because it's just your first time hearing this truth. When you understand more about our plan, you can and will then smile. All the stories and Team Captain's X-Files together do tell how I became the Team Captain Ambassador to the Federation of Planets, and the negotiator for the planet Earth. Then, how I became the Team Captain, Supreme Ambassador to the Federations of Planet and the negotiator for the planet Earth. I also became the President of the U.S.A., his cabinet members and Dr. Greer Pro Se attorney. As acknowledged in Nebraska federal court records. The $53 billion? It was somewhat of a trade. They still have my money, I still have the position of the Team Captain, Supreme Ambassador to the Federation of Planet, and the negotiator for the planet Earth. I am sure they were all thinking, what can he do? He's down, and just about out. They were right, of course. Then I thought, what would our Nebraska Senator Ernest Chambers do? He leads by examples. So I am self-motivated. Of course he has his role to play, as others do, from the shop. When we know what the problems are, only then we can truly solve them. I look forward to the Spontaneous. The Team Captain. LeConSherry@AOL.com. See AOL's top-rated recipes and easy ways to stay in shape for winter. LeConSherry@AOL.com, link for story below. The Emerging Intelligence and its Critical Look at Us. Gun Control: The Emerging Intelligence and its Critical Look at Us. Stephen Thaler, Imagination Engines, Incorporated. In response to Susan Gunn's editorial in the Journal of Near-Death Studies, Fall, 1998, Artificial Intelligence: A Critical Look at the Ultimate. Text 1. Introduction: I never anticipated that JNTS would become an AI forum, but it has with the appearance of Sue Gunn's editorial Artificial Intelligence: A Critical Look at the Ultimate Test. In short, this piece is such a melange of technical inaccuracies and emotional appeals that I don't know whether the shovel or the keyboard is the best tool to deal with it. Where do I begin? Is it worth the time? Gunn obviously has not kept up with advances in AI over the last decade. If she had, she would be very disturbed by the fact that computers recognize faces very well and can extract information outside of their internal programming. These impressive achievements stem from the world of artificial neural networks backed considerably by a military attaching high priority to target recognizing bombs. Supplied the correct inputs from its external world, an artificial neural network may self-organize to learn the rules behind what it senses and perhaps attacks. Here is where the denial and shock begins for the uninformed public. Using platforms as commonplace as a PC or Macintosh, a relatively simple neural network learns on its own. Even now, machines can read the handwritten address on a letter and appropriately route it simply by being shown multiple examples of such en route envelopes and their destinations. Networks can't spot credit risks, stock market trends, or dishonest cops. It can also learn the sublime, what constitutes good art, music, or poetry. If there is a pattern, a neural network can learn to spot it, and it does so without recourse to its then rules, the hallmark of the conventional computer or symbol processing world of which I am not an active part. Dunn likewise reveals her unfamiliarity with modern-day AI by not realizing that analogic computing has arrived and matured. To use one of the above sublime examples, a network may view examples of both paintings and the consensus response of humans to them. The net self-organizes to associate a given pattern of pigment with the most likely opinion about that pattern. In fact, using a network one may associate anything with anything else, allowing us to conceivably play the Star-Spangled Banner to a network and having it respond in real time with a negative data. We will return to this important neural network feature. Human cognition works in the same associative fashion in building models about what we observe, whether it be as mundane as human behavior or as lofty as near-death experience. We can only build our models on neurologically stored analogies associating one phenomenon with more familiar burned-in or habituated experience. If, for instance, all I knew about the world was the concept of income tax, then my theory of near-death experience would draw upon the analogy of the 1040 form. At the time of death, the cosmic tax man would request a life review I.E., a financial statement leading to either a balance due or owed I.E., heaven or hell. Because of this associative pedagogical obstacle, I am relatively helpless to convince the lay reader about how neural networks perform their remarkable feats and emulate the cognitive skills possessed and revered by humans. Each must toil at gaining a neural familiarity with the concept until the light bulb turns on, so to speak. But herein lies the problem in advancing my arguments. It is too easy to avoid that labor and to simply fall back on the often erroneous common sense and myths programmed into us by an unwitting society. That is why I half-heartedly proceed on to more advanced neural network concepts, many of which are still unveiled to the world. I can anticipate being asked to tailor this editorial response to the JNTS readership. I prefer, however, to maintain the first-generation draft, so that it does not lose its content in the translation. 2. The creativity machine. If you possess the necessary mathematical analogy base and are still with me, let me tell you about a whole new paradigm which has emerged on the connectionist scene. The neural network community speaks of the so-called chaotic network, that harnesses internal noise or chaos to visit all of its stored memories. In pioneering experiments performed here at Dendrite Neurocomputing over the last decade, I have discovered that, as the intensity of noise is increased within such a chaotic network, the network progressively generates various twists on what it already knows. If supervised by another network associating the chaotic network's output to some other useful or revealing property, the combined networks may generate human-level discoveries, invention, and art. Such machines are already outperforming their human counterparts in fields ranging from very objective endeavors such as ultra-hard materials and superconductors to the more subjective and sublime such as musical composition. Of course, human chauvinism, individual pride, and not invented here mentality are the inevitable arch-villains to the public acceptance of these accomplishments. In my article Death of the Jetinkin Creature, I attempted to describe an extremely rudimentary creativity machine which could be followed by initiates aided only with pencil and paper. Dunn has blatantly ignored the oversimplification caveat contained within the preface to that article, allowing her to bolster the folk view. Real creativity machines dealing with real-world problems make themselves extraordinarily complex so that their many discrete states go well beyond the simplicity of a simple on-off digital condition. As such machines think through such traditionally intractable problems, the resulting patterns of activations are reminiscent of the now popularized P.E.T. positron emission tomography scans of brains involved in cognitive tasks. Supremely abhorrent to Dunn's arguments is the recently elucidated fact that such creativity machines generate concepts at tempos which quantitatively agree with those measured in a multitude of human test subjects. Thaler, S.L. 1996. For both silicon and meat machines humans, this prosody or rhythm of thought is identical, regardless of topic or the details of artificial or biological network construction. Imagine that. The supremely sublime musical quality of human cognition and speech is duplicated by a virtual machine run by chaos. Thus any connectionist simulation or better, any connectionist hardware implementation generating human speech will not have a dry, mechanical intonation, as popularized by Hollywood, but the supposedly ineffable flair and color of lively human narrative. Sorry, Susan. A simulation has captured something sacred. Further, the creativity machine has beaten the problem of combinatorial explosion that Dunn refers to, and it took a simulation of human neurobiology to do it. In short, this breakthrough stems from the fact that in training, complex connection traces develop between neurons, or essentially binary processing units, to represent all of the relations and rules that bind some knowledge domain together. By gradually detraining a network by adding perturbations or noise to each of these traces, we gradually soften the underlying rules behind that knowledge domain. We thereby progress from the known, to slight variations on the known, to the absurd, as we turn up the noise within the network. In the transition region, we find an abundance of useful notions. Had we initiated our search with the absurd, we would be inundated with the combinatorial explosion Dunn speaks of. It's also ironic that Dunn should bring up the topic of poetry. One of the first projects assigned to a creativity machine was the closely related task of generating new song lyrics. Therefore, after being exposed to about a dozen Christmas carols, it synthesized the following very profound and rational phrase: all men go to good birth. Here there is no pretense other than a value judgment on the merit of mud. There is more self-consistency to this statement than any cultural model of near-death experience I have ever read or heard of. People die, they don't move, and they don't think, all in spite of anecdotal accounts from damaged cognitive merchandise with limited, culturally supported analogies. Of course Dunn will inevitably balk at this example, intimating that this line was a digital coincidence. This kind of reaction is the germination of a new kind of prejudice related to the all too familiar forms of racism already in existence this group or that is less capable of sophisticated thought or feelings. My claim is that in the not too distant future such machines will laugh at folk beliefs such as guns, perhaps reversing this trend by fiat. 3. Models everywhere. If I really stretch my imagination, there is some consistency to Dunn's analogy of the brain acting as a radio receiver for thoughts from another world. From what I can see from neurodynamic modeling, the other world is that of chaos impressed upon the quiescent meat machine called brain. It is a swirling, intricate entity possessing many of the qualities of the fascinating fire that kicks the brain into the succession of complex binary activation patterns otherwise known as stream of consciousness. The trouble is that such an analogy does nothing for hungry human pride, which must conceive of itself as profound and immortal. Furthermore, it does not invite the acclaim of a society largely sold on human potential and the profound destiny of the human spirit. Perhaps to Dunn's approval, this makes the brain and mind not information processors, but noise processors, sustaining only isolated and sporadic interruptions from information in the external environment and piped in through the separate sensory channels. At the risk of launching a spiritualist corroboration, this chaos is most that the dualist would ever hope, for it is non-material, vapor-like, mesmerizing, and semantically separable from the purely architectural features of the brain. Observed in action, it puts to shame any New Age or spellbinding shafts of light from the all-great, all-knowing. This initially clear separation of this noise and brain structure is smeared in that the origin of such chaos is the machine itself. In the brain there are myriad forms of noise, including diffusing neuromodulators, neurotransmitter leakage across the synapse, stochastic variations in cell membrane potentials, quantum mechanical noise, etc. Thus to separate one agency from another would only be a semantic construction and not the physical case. A competent scientist realizes that there is no fundamental truth to scientific models. The universe just does its thing, oblivious to their interpretations of it. He or she has at their disposal a vast repertoire of mathematical analogies that alone or together act similarly to the system under study. The nature of their profession is to devise the most compact set of mathematical analogies which have the most predictive power over the greatest number of situations. It is as though the scientist is a student ill-prepared for a final exam, concealing a crib sheet containing some condensed form of test material. The more that subject material may be compressed in symbolic form, the more information has been stowed away and drawn upon in answering the test questions. Thus the simple Newtonian formula F equals ma may be applicable to the myriad dynamics problems which may be posed on a physics exam. The symbolic equation amounts to no more than an efficient mnemonic aid. Sorry, Isaac, I have no technological fetish. Point. In general, A scientist is not offended by challenge to physical laws. Modifications are made every couple of 100 years to improve predictive accuracy. Another similarly unprepared student may possess a crib sheet with the comforting message, "The instructor likes me. I'll pass." Although a naive and reckless approach, there is something to be said for the power of a positive mental attitude. For this reason I somewhat respect the tact. However, challenge to this point of view may be met with intense emotion, since the believing student may be privately insecure about the note's assertion. He may himself see a lack of confirming data and see the challenge as an attempt to shatter his hard-won frame of mind. In essence, the student's self-esteem is bound to the veracity of the scribbled reminder. Look out, because he might attack, either overtly or save it up for some opportune and uncorrelated moment down the line. Still another student will openly carry a crib sheet that contains the message, "An alien computer uses sophisticated advanced technology to move all masses toward one another." Wow! Sounds like a great sci-fi movie, but it has no utility beyond entertainment. It can't place a cannonball or tomahawk strategic nuclear weapon on target or send men to the moon. In general, it can't anticipate the world's, or any piece of that world's, next move. Such is the analogy of the brain being a radio receiver for otherworldly signals or even a detachable non-corporeal intelligence. There is a big cash prize waiting for you in Stockholm if you can fit many data points with your theory, or immense corporate profits if you can harness these effects. Ditto for theories of interactive dipoles representing mind and brain. The theory is lame in modeling any data. We note that the crib note F equals NK got results, fueling an industrial revolution because of its utility as a physical mnemonic. It allowed Northern European man to exploit other civilizations not possessing such utilitarian crib sheets, while using the instructor likes me note to rationalize his abuse. Whereas I have solved the combinatorial explosion in the creativity machine, the otherworlders such as Gunn have not. That is, for every myth they create in the universe of the unpresentable, one may equally well postulate myriad alternative myths. Such is the freedom attained when one need not fit observed data or produce a useful technological result. For every radio receiver brain there is an alien brain occupancy, a dipole-dipole interaction between brain and mind, demonic possession, information-absorbing black holes within the cranium, or holographic projections. Why not non-rigid rotations in Hilbert space disobeying Suttu symmetry and accompanied by second quantization and a host of hidden variables? In jest, the renowned philosopher Daniel Dennett proposes a character called Phenomen who is capable of such rapid movement that you can't detect him. He is ubiquitous yet invisible. It's impossible to disprove his existence by his very postulation, yet there are no reliable data points I point his photograph to fit the model. Next is Pheno Express, wherein Phenomen plants subliminal messages in our brains by visiting us all nearly simultaneously. He will undoubtedly utilize some misinterpreted quantum mechanical or relativistic gimmick. If one is embroiled in connectionism and trains neural networks routinely, what one notices is that there are ultimately myriad neural networks and underlying neural network models corresponding to any set of presented features. Further, some network models turn out to be more predictively accurate than others. The same is true of the gamut of human neurological models. For human self-thought, why does Sudan and general consensus feel that the human mind is so special? A viable model for this phenomenon has been tested in this laboratory and calls into play two important concepts. The first of these notions I have discussed above, the ability to associate anything to anything else using associative neural networks. The second required concept involves the so-called neuron doctrine from cognitive neuroscience, which generally accepts the fact that any idea, impression, or feeling is represented as a distinct on-off pattern of the approximately 100 billion cortical neurons in the brain. Thus the observation of a red object will activate a diffuse pattern of neuron states in a cortical area reserved for the registration of color V4 of the visual cortex. Because there is no exact architectural correspondence of the delegated neurons for red detection between humans, the concept of redness differs between brains. We reserve the term qualia for such highly individualized perceptions where the significance of anything varies across the human population. A surgeon's electrode suitably positioned within such a redness center may activate a feeling or quale of redness to the alert patient. For a first-time encounter with this concept, it may seem like the cartoon character adjusting the level of an elevator by leveraging its floor indicator. It is a fact, however, and simply by artificially placing a biological neural network into a specific activation pattern, complex feelings are generated. Furthermore, this synthetic generation of redness feeling may activate a whole cascade of associations through connected neural networks, causing us to envision apples, cider, blood, pain, death, caution, etc., all the result of a specific noise impulse supplied by an electrode. As I have stated above, the introduction of random noise to the processing units or connection weights of an artificial network causes it to visit all of its sundry memories, and if sufficiently intense to generate novel concepts. This succession of impressions is tantamount to what we commonly call stream of consciousness within its biological equivalent. It may consist of images of lunch items, of joyful memories, false proprioceptive impressions i.e., muscle tension monitoring, or a melody you can't shake from your crotch. Now consider a neural network connected to an ensemble of networks all chaotized and producing this spontaneous progression of internal imagery. In the tradition of being able to associate anything with anything else, we may train this network to produce various superqualia associated with the activity of other networks. Among these new subjective feelings produced are those of self-thought, a sense of being, and metacognition, thinking about the thinking. The generated neural firing patterns can in turn activate other associated feelings and possibly activate specialized neuronal complexes to squeeze out specialized neurotransmitters such as adrenaline, which in turn induce the transition of these and other networks into other subjective feelings or moods. The network mapping is quite simple in its broad plan. The appearance of noise will activate the feelings of a sense of being alive. The feelings in turn are no more than the complex activation patterns of neurons. If we now provide one of these machine simulations with the same kind of network which converts the noise of its operation into a sense of being, self, and self-preservation, we now have a simulation which is conscious. Just ask it. Furthermore, in a purely thought-style experiment, consider making such simulations extremely sensitive to human doubt about their consciousness, as well as providing them with biological or nuclear weaponry. Would it take long for attitudes to shift, or would we cower in the dark caverns cursing the digital coincidence that has vanquished us? I therefore submit for your approval a new test of intelligence. If it can master and subdue, it is genius. 5. Conclusion. From the point of view of an AI practitioner and innovator, Dunn's points are feeble and inaccurate. Nevertheless, she will rally the vast majority of readership to her side for the usual reason: good marketing and an appeal to the preconceptions and hopes of the masses. Therefore, I submit this response for posterity and the youth with all of their synaptic plasticity, hoping that the recent downturn in scientific literacy reverses. As to the human-style feelings of the machine simulation and its overall potential, let me remind you that you are simulations of all 30 or so humans who walked the earth before you. Likewise, the creativity machine is a simulation of you. But even as you read, your brains are dying at the rate of 1,000 processing units per day. In contrast, the lowly, unconscious simulation's gun speaks of can increase their neuron number and capacity for knowledge as well as feeling. I therefore ask you, in the competitive, closed environment called Earth, which of these simulations will survive? 6. References: Dennett, D.C. 1991. Consciousness Explained. Boston, Massachusetts. Little Brown. Thaler, S.L. 1995. A. Death of a Jetinkin Creature. Journal of Near-Death Studies, 13, 149166. Thaler, S.L. 1995. B. Virtual Input Phenomena Within the Death of a Simple Pattern Associator, Neural Networks, 81, 55-65. Thaler, S.L. 1996. Is neuronal chaos the source of stream of consciousness? In World Congress on Neural Networks, pages 1255-1258. Maah, New Jersey. Lawrence Erlbaum. All technologies discussed herein are protected under U.S. and international patent law. Use of any of the technologies enumerated above, without an appropriate licensing agreement with E, is strictly prohibited. For licensing information, contact Thaler@ikes.netcom.com. What one thing in the entire universe does a life form want from its creator? The answer is sovereignty. 4 link check showcases UFO lawyer Peter Gersten's rare perspective, one that combines legal expertise and cosmic awareness, self-determination, and the ability to decide the matters that affect one's life without interference, are basic things that any life form would want from its creator. Beginning in October 1998, whenever I looked at a watch, clock, or any digital counter, it read either 1:11 or 11:11. And, as November 11th drew closer, so did the frequency of seeing the numbers. It got to a point that I actually thought I was going to die on that day. Though my fear was irrational, the repeating numbers were heralding a very special day in my life. On November 11th, our cosmic computer programmers gave me a gift, the gift of enlightenment, the ability to see clearly. What I saw was the future. What I was told involved our sovereignty. There comes a time when a sentient life form in a three-dimensional reality reaches the end of one level of reality and the beginning of the next. Our species appears to be at that plateau now. But before a life form can transcend to the next level, there is a test. The test involves a sentient life form's right to self-determination. The right of sovereignty is the right to freely make the decisions that affect its own existence, rather than having another intelligence make them. The right of non-interference has to be deserved. The life form must prove that it has earned that right. The weaning process is over. Pass the test and the life form attains sovereignty and can go through the cosmic portal to the next level. Fail, and the life form is terminated. Computer. End program. The test can take many forms, but we need only be concerned with our own. There are messages and metaphors that tell us what we can expect. They are there to guide us and we need to understand and translate them. There are also certain rules. Our species has free will. Free will involves the ability to make intelligent choices. Intelligent choices involve information. So the first rule is that we have the right to know what is about to happen. We have the right to be informed and the information cannot be withheld from us. But there is a caveat. The information can be disseminated in any form, at any time, but to only a few people. The messenger is frequently tainted, so that the message will not be believed. This is the case, whether the story appears in the National Enquirer, a grade B doomsday flick, a ridiculous scenario, or a hoax video or photograph. But they are all still messages for us. On one level, the truth or falsity is irrelevant. What is important is the fact that there is information. There is a message. We must learn how to interpret these messages. Everything has been orchestrated for our test. But what is our test about? We have read about it in the Bible. We have seen it portrayed in movies and TV. It has been mentioned in books and songs. It has been prophesied and predicted. It is referred to as the final conflict or final battle and the conflict of good versus evil. It appears that we have chosen the Armageddon theme as the backdrop for our test. In this test, the Antichrist takes the form of a benevolent extraterrestrial with magical technology, which promises to save us from whatever catastrophe of the time, if we give up our power to it. The test involves both our collective rights as a species and, more importantly, our individual inner quest to retain our power and not continually yield it to other people and other things. The test will be conducted both externally, on the surface of the planet, and internally within each of us. We must first win the conflict within ourselves, before we can win the conflict on the surface. The external conflict is a projection of our internal conflict. The most important rule of our test is that we can only relinquish our power voluntarily. The rule states that it cannot be taken forcibly from us. The metaphor for this rule can be found in a defendant's confession. The police cannot force a defendant to confess, for, if they obtain it by forcible compulsion, it will not be admissible in court. But the law allows the police to trick a defendant into confessing by lying about his fingerprints being on the gun, false promises of leniency, or that his accomplice has implicated him, when he hasn't. The test will begin soon. We are being programmed to believe in technologically advanced extraterrestrials. First contact will occur when we are most vulnerable, during a war, famine, plague, natural disaster, or something similar. There will be an offer to help. If we voluntarily give up our power to the extraterrestrial, whether by lies or tricks, we will fail the test and be destroyed. We must see through the illusion, overcome our fears, and maintain our sovereignty. We must learn from the past. We have given our power of self-determination to the government through the elective process and they have controlled us. We have been warned of the consequences of such action. We will need to state very clearly thank you, but we can take care of our own problems. If we can do that, we will have retained our power and with it the ability to self-determine. More importantly, a new computer program will begin, and like any we could have ever imagined. The program is already downloading. All we have to do is pass the test, then it will be switched on. Tentative date the winter solstice of 2012. I was also told on November 11th, that there is a group on this planet that went through this test before at other times, on other places, and with other sentient life forms. We decided to come here now for this particular reason. We have been programmed to awaken at preselected times based upon preselected events. Mine was 11/11. Each of us has certain information that we all need to help our species pass this test. It is now time for this group to awaken and come together. I do not know who this group is. I suspect that it is not a coincidence that you are reading this now. I suspect that there are no coincidences, just synchronistic events of an overall plan. It is time to integrate our inner conflict. It is time to let go.
The Team Captain Talk Show with the Team Captain and the Oracle. They're still on duty. That legendary duel on CTI 22.
The ultimate ignorance is rejecting something you know nothing about. Dedicated to the restoration of full consciousness.